You look in the mirror and see the only human face left. Not the first human face, not the best human face, the last one. For most of your deep history, your kind was not alone. Your ancestors shared the world with other humans who walked upright, made tools, cared for children, buried their dead, hunted animals, crossed mountains, survived ice, and looked at the same moon with minds that were not exactly yours. They were not monsters. They were not apes. They were human. So why are you the only one still here? Start with the word human. Today, it feels simple. It means you. It means your family, your language, your city, your face, your hands, your strange ability to worry about tomorrow while scrolling through a glowing rectangle at midnight. But in science, human does not mean only Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is your species. Homo is the wider human family, a group of close relatives with bodies, brains, and behaviors that changed across millions of years. A species is a population that is distinct enough to be recognized as its own kind, though in human evolution, the borders are often messy. Messy matters, because your family tree is not a ladder. It is a bush. Branches split. Some grow taller, some bend, some overlap, some vanish. And for a long time, several branches were alive at the same time. Imagine waking up 50,000 years ago. You were not in a museum. You were not in a cave painting. You were standing in a real cold morning, with smoke in your hair and hunger in your stomach. Somewhere to the west, Neanderthals are moving through Europe and Western Asia with heavy bodies, broad noses, powerful arms, and stone tools shaped by patient hands. Somewhere far to the east, Denisovans are living across Asia, known today not from a full skeleton at first, but from DNA pulled from a tiny finger bone in Denisova Cave in Siberia. On the island of Flores, a smaller human species, Homo floresiensis, is surviving in a world of volcanic mountains and giant birds. In South Africa, Homo naledi had already lived in deep cave systems, with a brain much smaller than yours, but a body strange enough to remind you that intelligence is not measured by skull size alone. Your ancestors were one human species among several. The old picture was cleaner, too clean. It imagined modern humans rising above the rest, spreading out, replacing everyone, and becoming the final answer to evolution. But evolution does not write final answers. It makes experiments. Charles Darwin understood the dangerous power of this idea in the 19th century. He did not know Neanderthal DNA. He did not know Denisova Cave. But he saw that living things are related by descent, which means species are connected through older ancestors, not dropped separately into the world. That one idea cracked the mirror. Then the fossils made the crack wider. In 1856, workers in the Neander Valley in Germany found bones that looked human, but not quite like any living person. Thick brow ridges, a long, low skull, strong limb bones. At first, some people tried to explain them away as the remains of a diseased modern human. That was easier. It protected the comforting story that your kind had always been alone. But the bones kept coming. Neanderthals appeared in caves and rock shelters across Europe and Western Asia. Sites such as Shanidar Cave in Iraq showed injured Neanderthals who had survived long after serious wounds, which suggests care. La Chapelle-aux-Saints in France gave researchers one of the classic Neanderthal skeletons. Gibraltar, Croatia, Spain, and the Levant added more pieces. Piece by piece, the other human became harder to deny. Neanderthals were not failed versions of you. They were adapted to their world. Adapted means shaped by survival. Their wide bodies helped them hold heat in cold climates. Their strong arms and hands were built for close-range hunting and heavy work. Their stone tools were not random rocks. They were planned shapes, made with skill, memory, and teaching. Now picture a Neanderthal child watching an adult make a tool. One strike. A pause. Another strike. A flake breaks away. The child is not just seeing stone. The child is seeing knowledge move from one mind to another. That is culture in its simplest form. Culture means learned behavior shared by a group, not art galleries, not fashion, just the invisible instructions that help a group survive. Then came DNA. In 2010, a team led by Svante Pääbo at the Max Planck Institute published a draft Neanderthal genome. Genome means the complete set of genetic instructions inside a body. The result was shocking in the quiet way science can be shocking. Many people outside Africa carry a small amount of Neanderthal DNA. That means your ancestors did not only replace Neanderthals. Some met them. Some had children with them. Think about what that means. At some point, an encounter happened that was not just war, not just fear, not just competition. Two human groups looked at each other across a landscape, and somewhere in that long, complicated contact, families formed. Today, tiny fragments of those vanished people may still sit inside the immune system, skin, hair, or metabolism of living humans. The extinct are not completely gone. Then, Denisovans made the story stranger. A small finger bone from Denisova cave was enough to change the map. Researchers including David Reich and Svante Pääbo studied ancient DNA from the cave and found a human group that was neither modern human nor Neanderthal, though related to Neanderthals. At first, Denisovans were almost a ghost species, known more from genetic code than from a face. Imagine discovering a relative from a fingertip. No full body, no famous skull, just a fragment small enough to lose in your pocket, holding proof that another kind of human had existed. Denisovan, DNA, later showed up in some living populations, especially in parts of Oceania and Asia. This means your ancestors did not walk into an empty world. They walked into a world already inhabited by other humans, some close enough to have children with, some different enough to carry long, separate histories. The story becomes less like conquest, more like contact. But not every human relative was close enough to blend into your bloodline. On the Indonesian island of Flores, archaeologists found Homo floresiensis at Liang Bua Cave. This species was small-bodied, with a small brain, yet associated with stone tools and survival on an island full of unusual animals. Popular headlines called them hobbits, but the nickname can hide the deeper shock. A human body plan could become small and still survive in ways that force you to rethink what human ability looks like. Small does not mean simple. Different does not mean lesser. Extinct does not mean irrelevant. Then South Africa added another puzzle. In 2015, Lee Berger and the large research team described Homo naledi from the Rising Star cave system. More than a few bones were found. Many individuals were represented. The species had a strange mix of features: hands capable of gripping, feet suited for walking, shoulders and a trunk that looked more ancient, and a brain much smaller than yours. A smaller brain should have made the story easy, but it did not. The fossils were deep inside a difficult cave system, in a chamber that raised hard questions about how the bodies got there. Scientists still debate the behavior of Homo naledi, and debate is part of science. It is not weakness. It is how knowledge gets tested before it becomes trusted. But the existence of Homo naledi itself is enough to disturb the neat ladder. Your human family was crowded with experiments. Some were tall, some were short. Some were strong, some were small-brained. Some lived in cold valleys, some lived on islands. Some left DNA inside you. Some left only bones. Now ask the uncomfortable question. Why are they gone and you are still here? The easy answer is that Homo sapiens was smarter. But easy answers are often lazy. Your ancestors did have powerful advantages. They made long-distance networks. They created symbolic objects. At places like Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found engraved ochre, which is red mineral material marked with deliberate patterns. Symbolic means one thing can stand for another thing. A line can mean a memory. A shell bead can mean identity. A mark can mean a group. That kind of thinking matters. It lets you build stories larger than your own body. It lets strangers cooperate. It lets knowledge travel farther than a single campfire. But survival is not a school exam where the smartest species wins a trophy. Climate changed. Ice sheets moved. Forests expanded and shrank. Animal herds shifted. Small populations became vulnerable. A drought, a cold snap, a failed migration, or too few children could erase a group over generations. Competition with Homo sapiens may have mattered. Disease may have mattered. Interbreeding may have mattered. Bad luck may have mattered more than pride wants to admit. Extinction can be quiet. No final battle, no last king, no dramatic ending. Just fewer camps in the valley, fewer fires at night, fewer children learning the old tool pattern, fewer voices using a language no one will ever hear again. Then, one winter, or one century, or one migration later, a human species is gone. You inherit the silence and call it normal. This is the twist. Being the last human species does not prove that your species was destined to be alone. It proves that you survived a world where aloneness was not guaranteed. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors lived inside a human neighborhood. Neanderthals were neighbors. Denisovans were relatives in the shadows. Homo floresiensis and Homo naledi were reminders that the human form had many possible versions. The word human was once plural in a way your daily life barely lets you imagine. Look at your hand. The fingers are modern, the skin is modern, the phone in it is painfully modern. But the story inside that hand is older and stranger than the world you wake up in. Some of your immune defenses may carry echoes of ancient encounters. Some of your instincts were shaped in landscapes where another human group might be over the next ridge. Your loneliness as a species is recent. That matters because the modern world teaches you to think of humanity as obvious. One species, one face, one kind of mind. But deep history says the opposite. It says human nature was never a single clean thing. It was a range, a family, a set of possibilities. So when you ask what makes you human, the answer cannot simply be tools. Others made tools. It cannot simply be fire. Others likely used fire. It cannot simply be care. Injured Neanderthals survived. It cannot simply be walking upright, or hunting, or having a brain. Maybe what makes you human is not one trait. Maybe it is the inheritance of many vanished experiments. Maybe you are not the winner of a ladder, but the last living branch of a tangled tree. And that should make you less arrogant, not more. Because the mirror lies by showing you only the present. It cannot show the Neanderthal mother watching snow gather at the cave entrance. It cannot show the Denisovan child in the Altai Mountains. It cannot show the small human on Flores listening for predators in the dark. It cannot show the Homo naledi body carried, dragged, washed, or placed into a chamber that still makes scientists argue. The mirror shows one human face, but behind it are many. You are not alone because you were always alone. You are alone because the others disappeared. And every time you look at your own reflection, you are seeing the only human face left.